This episode of A Hero's Journey podcast is brought to you by JPS Computers. Jesse and Alex out of Oregon, thank you so much. And then S&P Inc. S&P Inc.'s been good to Chase and I, and they can help rebuild your confidence. I'm telling you right now, it's something that I didn't know I needed or wanted until I did. So go check out S&P Inc. My name is Brian Hopkins. This is A Hero's Journey podcast, and I have producer Chase with me. And it's the most random thing. Just off the air, I was explaining what this show is about to our guest. And that is, we're here to inspire you guys. We're here to, hopefully, each and every one of my guests, we connect with you somehow. You see something in yourself that this person is somewhat like you, or there's something that they do, or their struggles, their victories, whatever it is, connects with you somehow. And I was on the phone with our next guest just last week, and I'm having a conversation with him we were talking about some business stuff, and I was introduced to him from the guys, Nick. You guys know Nick Martin and JP from Dadcast, and those guys introduced me to our next guest. And I'm on the phone with him, and I realized, whoa. Let's stop this conversation. You said you're coming into town next week. Why don't you come be on the show? Let's continue this conversation in front of the cameras and for you at home, because I was inspired just by listening to his story. Our next guest is from Klamath Falls, Oregon, which is it's a thorn in my side a little bit, because being an ex-baseball player, I lost the state championship to Klamath Falls when I was a kid, and that was kind of a bummer. But I'll let it slide. Matt Phillips, everybody. Dude, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of this.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me down.
Oh, of course. So, you and I were on the phone, and we were talking, and I got inspired by our conversation because I'll set it up. You own a company called ArenaWars.live, right?
Yeah, it's Arena Wars fighting series.
Okay.
Yeah, and ArenaWars.live is most of our social media taglines, website.
Okay. And so you own this, and what is this? Explain this to everybody so that way they have an understanding of who you are. And we're going to get into your story, which inspired me. What is this? What is Arena Wars?
So short answer is we're basically an entertainment business, but it centers around the combat sports.
Okay.
So I'm about the only guy that I know of that puts on all the combat sports. So boxing, kickboxing, MMA, bare knuckle, and then we throw in some concerts, a little bit of music, even the pro entertainment wrestling.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, do it all. Whatever's entertaining, but it's centered around the combat sports.
Okay. And so I saw you have an event coming up in, where is it? Grants Pass? Where was that? That's coming up.
Our next one's coming up in Medford, July.
Oh, Medford. There we go. I get them confused.
Yeah.
They're like 30 minutes apart.
Yeah, they're close. They're basically a blended city now.
Exactly. They're 30 minutes apart.
Yeah.
So what is that? What kind of event is that you're putting on?
So that one, we're going to have pro boxing, kickboxing, MMA, submission, grappling, and Lucha Day submission.
Okay, so
they're all in one night.
Okay, so it's all in one night. Now, I'm trying to picture this because, growing up in Salem, Oregon, we had the fairgrounds. They had the armory,
right.
I think, that was there. And
Yeah,
they would put on different things there,
Yep.
boxing and whatever, way back when I was younger.
Right.
So how does this work? I mean, do you have a cage that everybody has to fight in? Do you bring in a boxing ring? You bring in, because you have all these different events going on in one night.
Yeah, pretty much what we do. So if boxing's not in the equation, then we'll bring out our nice circle cage.
Okay.
And then we just make our fight lineup for the night, and everybody will operate fighting or competing out of the circle cage.
Okay.
Right? So
Yeah.
it'll be a staggered night. So if you're sitting there, the first match of the night might be a submission grappling. Next match of the night might be an MMA fight. Next match of the night might be a kickboxing fight. And then it just kind of tears up all night long.
So you can do kickboxing inside a circle cage.
Yeah, and it's great because you get a little different dynamic not having a boxing ring with the ropes in the corners to play off of.
Okay.
When you make guys stand up and bang it out in a cage.
And you say that from experience because you used to be a fighter. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've competed quite a bit too.
How long did you compete?
I started kind of back in the first generation of the fight, so the early, mid '90s and up into the early 2000s.
Really?
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So I mean, because like off camera, we were talking about some of the people that I know. Randy Couture is one of my good friends, and he came up when, in the beginning, like there was barely a weight class and those kinds of things at that time.
Right.
Then it, the longer he went in, the more it was broke up and whatnot for UFC, which became, the UFC. And the thing is, I should have had, Bobby on the show today, because Bobby, he's got fight junkies here, and he
Right.
knows everything he knows all the guys who started it. He knows the history and all this stuff, and he's a military guy as well. So you have, on this particular night, we might as well plug this because it's coming up in Medford. Right. What day is this?
So July 8th.
July 8th. You have this going on July 8th in Medford.
Yep.
And so that card is broken up into what? What kind of fighting can they
So we're
expect?
actually bringing out the boxing ring on this one. So with my company, I own a couple boxing rings and a couple cages.
Okay.
That way we got a variety. One of the things with boxing, when you throw boxing into the mix, just based off of the rules, it has to happen in a boxing ring.
I was going to say, there's certain things I know that...
it has to happen. It just, the governing bodies and the rule sets say
Right.
that it's got to happen. So the MMA guys and the kickboxers, they'll fight in a boxing ring.
Okay.
We only have to do a couple little adjustments. So we'll have the boxing ring out that night. We got a 7-round title fight on the boxing.
Okay.
With some pretty good regional guys, and then we have 4 other title fights below that.
And this is all amateur, right? Is it?
No, it's pro.
Really?
Yeah, so with us, we do a lot of pro-am stuff. So one of the foundations for the business that I kind of laid out is to do pro-am. That way we could give good amateurs a place to get some experience, hopefully develop into good pros, get them some experience to where maybe once they're big enough, they can get up to the national scene on a UFC, Bellator, Top Rank or something like that.
Yeah.
So we want to build a good feeder platform for
PFL being what Randy is.
Yeah, PFL's a great one.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, wow. I that part, kind of threw me. I was reading your Empower Entertainment. I mean, get into that a little bit, because just what I'm seeing is like your whole series is to give these people a chance, give young fighters and people a platform and treating them right. That I remember you telling me that on the phone, like you do treat the fighters and the people who come, because it's entertainment. You're in the entertainment business.
Yeah.
Everything that you just said is just one night of entertainment of all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So, where'd that come from?
Well, people want to be entertained,
Right.
Whether it be going to music, concert, fights, and there's a lot of competition out there. So you either got to be really big and do one thing right, like the UFC or PFL or something like that, or you have to be a little more diverse and separate yourself from the herd.
Right.
That way people say, gosh, this is coming up tonight, and you're not pigeonholing yourself. If we just put on boxing only, that's what we'd be known for is boxing only. So we'd get the boxing fans,
Right.
and just boxers. Last year we had on this same July weekend, we brought the circle cage out, had MMA, kickboxing, boxing, and then had Sugar Boom Boom and his hip hop crew came out, performed at kind of a halftime show, and then filmed a music video in the cage.
Oh, wow.
At the end. So from a spectator standpoint, you can't get much better entertainment than that. Because I really appreciate everybody's money. I appreciate what it takes for them to earn it, and then for them to give it. So one of the things I wanted to be happy with is the experience they got when they came here, and then when they leave.
Great answer. That was awesome. Yeah. That's a great answer. And what I was getting at is like you were a fighter. So in fact, we talked on the phone. Reed Harris is one of my friends, and he's the vice president of UFC. Great guy. And you were like, I fought in his thing.
Yeah.
Was that? Did you fight in his league at one point, or
Yeah,
was
so Reed had, he was one of the pioneers back
Yeah,
when I was going. And back then there was, I have a really good understanding of where the fighters are now versus what it used to be, because back in the day there was guys like Reed that were working real hard just to get an event up that the states would allow to give the handful of guys that wanted to fight the ability to do that. And it was really a taboo touch and go, industry at that time.
Okay.
And guys like Reed are the ones that kind of paved the way, and, several other guys, of course, that got it to where we're at today. And, with these fighters, they have it a lot easier today in a lot of respects because it's a legitimate sport now.
Right.
The sport of mixed martial arts has been around for 20 years. Back when Randy Couture started and, I got involved and stuff like that, it was kind of that first, second generation guy where you had a guy like Randy that was phenomenal wrestler. And
Right.
just,
Right.
Badass.
And he's from our hood.
Yeah,
Like,
and he's from Oregon.
Oregon.
So he put
right.
Oregon on the map
Exactly.
for MMA, and then
Exactly.
he comes out, but he took what he had for wrestling, and then he added more tools into it.
Right.
Became a good dirty boxer and great athlete. For strength and conditioning and all that. And there's several guys like that too on the athlete side that paved the way, and so now moving forward, of course it's pretty accepted everywhere, and there's fighters all over the place. And
how do you find your fighters? Where do they come from?
So we strategically kind of work. So I have a matchmaker that works for me.
Okay.
I brought him on full time a couple years ago, and he understood the program and the vision that I had, that I wanted to lay down. And so, of course, we have local pools of fighters. Klamath Falls got a fight team, and Medford's got a couple fight teams, and Salem, and you could pretty much go
Salem, my hometown.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Yeah.
They got a great fight team. Impact Jiu-Jitsu up there is great.
Okay.
And so, of course, every town in America has fighters and gyms nowadays. It's not so much hard finding fighters and people to compete. It's finding the ones that are really dedicated and put the effort in, the good coaches. Because you can be really good athlete without a good coach.
Right.
Or vice versa. And so you got to find a combo. But when we're working, we have state champions that we've developed, regional champions. We have a couple national champions. So when we're matchmaking fights, there's kind of a method behind what we're doing. We're not just grabbing a guy from Klamath Falls to fight a guy from Medford.
Oh, okay.
All the time. I mean, ideally that might be good because we could maybe save a little money having two local guys fight.
Right.
Right. But
and they have hometown crowd. They're only 30 minutes apart.
Right.
Bam.
There you go.
It's right there. You got bodies in the room.
Yeah. But
coming to support.
Yeah.
Right.
But sometimes, like we have a lot of Portland guys fighting a lot of local guys. We have people coming from Reno for this next Klamath Falls event or Medford event.
Okay.
And we have a lot of them that come up for Klamath Falls, but that's kind of strategic too because we're getting ready to move into the northern Nevada area. So it's important that we got to develop relationships with those gyms. And
there you go, which is what led you to Las Vegas today. Today is a big day. Off the camera, we were talking about this. And to you and the people who might know you, it's somebody, you're a hustler, you're out there doing this. And the one thing you said to me on the phone, which resonated with me, it was like, wow. You said, I don't have any partners. I do this on my own. I have people who work with me, work for you. You come up with these ideas and you put them into play. And you're here because of why? Why are you here in Las Vegas?
Yeah, well, today we're officially licensed in the state of Nevada.
Congratulations, man.
Which was a long time coming. That took about an 18-month-long process.
That's amazing. Congrats.
Yeah, and we started the idea of it about 5 years ago. So it wasn't something that I thought, oh, hey, we got a free Tuesday.
Right.
Let's fly down to Vegas and get this license.
Exactly. And it's a big deal. And this is the entertainment capital of the world. Yeah. This is an entertainment town. So there's a lot going on. And we started talking because I'm trying to see what I can do to help you find a home somewhere here, somewhere in Reno. Well, this is us meeting for the first time, but we're having coffee, on camera.
Yeah.
And which is fun for Chase and I, huh?
Yeah.
It's a fun way to get to know people. What do you say?
I love it.
Oh, now
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. it really brings joy to my heart to be able to like listen to all these people's stories and that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, and the cool thing is, backing it up again, when we were talking, you're ex-military. Is that correct?
Yeah, Marine Corps veteran.
Oh, dude, I wear my dad's dog tag. My dad's a Marine.
Yeah.
I asked for that probably 13, 14 years ago for Christmas. And I was like, hey, can I have one of your dog tags? And he said, it took him a minute to give it up. And it's just sitting there. Two of them are sitting in a box. But I know what it meant for him to be a Marine. So thank you so much for your service. Appreciate you. Seriously. Thank you. My daughter used to, I've said this probably several times on the show, but my daughter used to think that I knew everyone in a uniform because I would walk up to them and thank them for their service until the one day we're at the airport and there must have been 50 grabbing their bags. And I'm going down the line, shaking everybody's hand, saying thank you. And she's like, you don't know them. I'm like, no, I don't. And she's like, I always thought you just knew, you just knew, so many people being in the entertainment business. And that's, I'm like, no, it's, they do what they did or do so I could do what I do. And it's one of those things. And your grandpa, my dad, is a Marine. So thank you so much. How long did you serve?
4 years.
4 years?
Yeah.
And then you went from 4 years. Did you have to go overseas or do anything like that?
No, I didn't.
No?
Didn't really do anything special. There's a lot of people that did more special stuff than I did.
See, here's the crazy thing. I wrote a song there's a song called Colors That We Fly. It's got Johnny Johnny Jones. Joey Jones. I love the guy. He's on Fox now. But back when I wrote the song about him, he was a double amputee walking onto the bus with Joe Nichols and I and Randy Couture. And he's walking up strapped in boots and on his prosthetic legs. And he's telling his story. And we're thanking him for his service. We're blown away by what he had to go through. And he's like, I didn't do much. It's my brothers who gave all. There was just, always pushing it the other way when I said, you're a hero. And he goes, no, they're the heroes. They're the heroes under cobblestone. You know what I'm saying? It's granite and rock. And it just kind of, it moved me. So like a year later, Ben and I sat down and wrote the song called Colors That We Fly, which I'll show you after this. But you can go check it out. It's on YouTube. Our song that song is actually on the Stories So Far album that we just dropped in January. But nice. But now, Joey is on Fox. He's Fox and Friends in the morning. He's doing big things. He went on that day. Randy looked at him and said, you should be a speaker. You need to share your story. And he flew him out for one of his rides. He did that. And then Randy even had him on Dances with the Stars with him in a routine. And Joey just went on to do big things and inspire others and share his, thoughts on everything. So this is a big deal. So what do you want to do here in Las Vegas?
So I think our plan at first is to attack northern Nevada and keep our expansion going. So I've been out to Arkansas and Indiana, and we've creeped out pretty far.
Okay.
On events, but our home base is basically in Northern California or all of Oregon.
Okay.
We've creeped into Washington a little bit. And
Mexico, you said.
Yeah, I've had 4 shows in Mexico.
Was that fun?
That was pretty fun. That was different. I got invited down there. I just didn't roll on down there and say, hey.
I want to do this,
yeah,
right?
Hey, I'm doing this. So the guys had the head athletic commissioner from the Puerto Vallarta area had seen several of our events over a couple year period.
Okay.
And then he approached me one night after an event and we had drank some tequila and had a good time. And he's like, hey, why don't you come on down here? I'm going to pave the way for you.
Okay.
And so we went down there and had some pretty cool shows.
That's awesome.
They rolled out the carpet. I had the, banners up all over the city. I mean,
how cool.
Yeah, it was about as cool as you could get. It was a big deal down there.
And so did they provide everything? Because You know, like the rings and the things that you needed. Was it there that they provided?
100% of it.
Oh, amazing.
We basically just showed up and they pretty much had people doing whatever we needed to do when we needed it, had the buildings permit, you name it, it was a done deal. And
that's awesome.
yeah, so it was pretty cool. And that was a good boost for us. That was started in 2018, 2019. And which was 2019 was another good year for us because we had gotten a contract with NBC Sports to start televising events.
Okay.
And so we had earlier in the year we had the fights in Mexico, and that was a pretty big feather in the cap. And then we ended 2019 with a nice telecast on NBC Sports, which paved the way for that. So
that's incredible. So have you had many fights since COVID, since coming out of this?
Well, let's see. So 2020, we obviously didn't do anything, right? 2021 stuff started to open back up in Oregon. It was kind of
man. Like I tried to do shows in Oregon, and they were being canceled and pushed back, and it just, So
I was the one that broke the state open in Oregon.
Really?
Yeah. So because we're licensed not only by Oregon but by other athletic commissions.
You're right.
You know, they had a rule in Oregon that when you did events, you had to be licensed in the state, which we were. We had active license, but in order to actually have an event that was approved, you had to have a sanctioning body that was recognized by the state. And so since I was one of the only people that were sanctioned by other companies outside of Oregon, because we had, operated in California, we had operated with several other sanctioning bodies, I had asked one of them to come up and oversee the event. And the minute we did that, it opened up the floodgates because Oregon couldn't tell us no.
Right.
So we had the first event coming out of COVID in Oregon at the end of 2021, and then we've been on a tear ever since.
Wow. Yeah, I played Grants Pass Fairgrounds when the fires were going on.
Right.
You guys had the fires, and I headlined on a Saturday night at the fair. And what should have been a really big show, was still like people were just really iffy on coming out. We had a good, decent number,
right? But
not like what we had expected when we were out there before. And it's just kind of, messed everything up. It's been tough coming out of this, and places that, are now just trying to get in the groove, or the places that are non-existent.
Right.
They're just not there anymore. The venues that we used to play and stuff are just not putting on events. So that's awesome that you're doing this, and congratulations on all that. I know that Mexico is kind of tough too, because going out there and playing, you can get taxed on your gear just leaving the airport.
Yeah,
they're wanting $3-4 grand it's yours. They just want that.
Yeah, Mexico's got its own rules. So
exactly.
It's basically an invite only.
Right.
If you're invited, they'll pave the way for you. If you're not,
right.
Or if they decide to change the rules.
Exactly.
Then it don't matter.
It's kind of iffy. little.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people.
I had buddies in their bus go through there and do some shows on their bus, and they were like, "We ran out of money. We were just being pulled over and having to pay money just to go, and it's just random amounts." And they're all like grabbing for money. They're like, "We ran out of money. We couldn't even pay anyone anymore."
Yeah, that never happened to us.
That's amazing. That's why I said they rolled out the carpet for you.
Well,
that's incredible.
But I can tell you at about the fourth time, though, once the TV deal became into play, that became a factor.
Really?
Yeah. So they were kind of like, "Hey, do you want to come down here? We need you to bring your TV time with us or with you, and so because we want to utilize it." And so there was a little bit of a squeeze coming on.
Right.
And it was one of those things where it kind of lived its purpose.
Right.
Because you could see it. Other than that,
it was great.
We went down there. They put us up in the hotel, right on the beach, took us out to the places that nobody usually gets to go to. And,
how cool!
I mean, just drove it. It was nice.
Yeah. So what do you see this going? What's the goal? Because right now, what'd you say? You were in how many different cities, states now that you have licenses?
So by the numbers, we've been in about 12 states, probably about 3 times as many cities. Of course, have had Mexico. couple times a year we do the NBC Sports. You know, I try to pick and choose because not every show is the same level. You know,
Right.
I mean, it's, you know, big bucks to put on that kind of stuff. And so you got to pick and choose the right events that you're going to dedicate the big time for the TV versus just, you know, standard filming or no filming at all, maybe.
Okay.
So our goal has always been to get into a nice B-level spot in the industry.
Okay.
So, you know, below the guys that are, you know, PFL, UFC, all the big boys,
Mm-hmm.
and be a really relevant player in the feeder process from getting these athletes that are up and comers some nice time on the stage, you know, under a slightly bigger show than their local little, you know,
Of course.
smoker show or whatever. That way they can maybe get
Smoker
seen.
show. Is that a,
Yeah, have you
is
ever
that the
seen?
term? Like,
No, so smoker shows are, so Washington State's known for smoker shows. So if we owned a gym in Washington State,
okay.
we could just put on Friday night fights
Ah,
and pull guys. I mean, I could put you against
Chase?
over
Yeah, I
there,
got him.
just
I'll take him.
whatever. You know, we could go ahead and knock on the guys next door and say, hey, you guys want to come over and fight?
Oh, wow.
Right.
Okay.
So it's kind of, I'm not a fan of the smokers. It's really unregulated, and it's just,
I see.
it's kind of, it's about as low level as you can get.
I
And
see.
and then, you know, you got other guys that do good shows, but they're one city shows.
Okay.
Right. And then you don't have that many guys that are like us that'll travel to multiple states, multiple cities. Nobody's doing the mix shows with the boxing, kickboxing, you know, because there's just a lot of extra work and logistics and stuff like that in there. And then you don't get a lot of guys that are doing pro and amateur. Even in the state of Nevada, they're pretty much either all pro or all amateur.
Right. I do know
So-
that, like Brian Lindsay, who's my good buddy, they just moved into Tough Enough has now the amateur, and then the end of the night, they end their nights with like 2 or 3 pro fights,
Right.
and which is, you know, really cool. And then you have, like, that's where I met Reed. Reed Harris
Right.
was sitting right behind me, and we became good friends, just chatting. And I had no idea who he was. He was just a good guy.
Yeah.
And but you know, they put on a pretty good, not pretty good. It's like a miniature.
No, Tough Enough's been
UFC.
around for a
Yeah.
long time. They're great.
Yeah, it was that Jeff and Jeff's brother who passed away, Jeff Meyer, and his brother. I feel bad. I can't remember his brother's name. They started it, and then Brian Lindsay came on as a partner, and he's my friend, and that's how I was aware of it. Because I'd been to some Tough Enough fights with Randy back in
Right.
the day. You know, we went and watched some of those fights that they had over at UNLV and places like that. That's crazy because, you know, we got to brainstorm as to finding you a home here, a place that so if you're listening out there, we're looking for a home for Arena Wars right here in Nevada. In Reno, we're looking for a place right here in Las Vegas as well that you can put on, like 3 or 4 fights a year, or
Yeah.
what's the goal?
Yeah, probably 3 or 4 fights a year. You know,
Okay.
maybe 6 or more, depending, because I do have the ability to split up what we do.
I see.
You know, it's not like we're coming in with an MMA fight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got that hybrid model to where if somebody wants just boxing, you know, we could do just boxing, just MMA, or mix them.
Right. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of fighters out
there's
of
a
Las
ton
Vegas.
Yeah, there's a ton. We fly fighters from Vegas up to fight all the time.
Okay.
And we've been developing good relationships with the groups down here. And Extreme Couture is one of them. We
Yeah.
fly fighters up from there all the time to
Really?
fight for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because, you know, Randy's got his gym right around the corner from here, and he's been in this place, which is cool. You know, like
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. So, you know, are you a family man? Like,
Yeah, I got 2 kids.
really?
Yeah.
So you do all this with?
Yeah, and my kids are older now,
Okay.
right? So I'm actually a double grandpa.
Oh, good for you! Congratulations.
Yeah, so my daughter just had her first baby a couple weeks ago, and then my
Congrats.
my grandson just had his boy, so my grandson is going to be turning a year old next month.
Oh, that's awesome!
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so I'm official grandpa.
There you go. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, and you live in Klamath Falls?
Yeah, I actually live in a town called Bonanza.
Really?
Like the old
Like the TV show? Oh, Haas and I can't remember anybody else's name, but I remember Haas.
Yeah, it's about like that.
That's crazy.
We probably have a Haas out there too. But it's about 30 miles east of Klamath Falls.
Do you have horses or anything like that out there?
So I got 5 goats.
Really?
Yeah, 5 goats.
What do they produce anything for you, or just you just have goats?
I got a soft heart for animals, so
Okay.
they're basically 5 rescues.
Oh, so they're pets.
Yeah, they're pretty much pets.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
And then we got 4 dogs and got a cat and a couple sugar gliders that were rescues and
What's a sugar glider? I don't know.
the
what that
flying
is.
squirrel.
Shut up. He's got a flying squirrel as a pet. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Got 2 flying squirrels.
Two flying squirrels.
And they fly.
That's crazy. And they're actual pets. They don't just hang out in your yard.
No, they're tropical animals, so they got to be indoors and
Really?
and you feed them human food.
Whoa.
Yeah, they're a trip. Yeah, look them
How-
up. Sugar glider. They could probably
Okay.
glide from one end of your room to the other.
How cool is that?
Yeah. So
What are their names?
I haven't named them.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
So,
but then I got a couple step kids, a gal I've been with, real great gal. We've been together for going on 6 years now. So that's what got me out to Bonanza.
okay.
Her kids were a little younger, and once we started kind
Okay.
of getting serious,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it was, mine were older and moved out doing their thing. So I was like,
So-
I could probably dig hanging out here where it's nice and peaceful, and there's just alfalfa fields around us, and you get a little bit of separation from
Right. The
from-
city.
from the city.
I grew up
life.
in Salem, so it's the capital,
Right.
but it's not real big. It's not. We were on the outer skirts of Salem there, but yeah. So
No, we put
I get
fights
it.
on in Salem
Okay.
at the Armory.
at the Armory,
Yeah.
there you go. So
Yeah.
I'd mentioned that. That's where I'd seen smoke shows. Literally,
right.
like I had buddies like just fighting for money. It was like a $2,000 prize purse, whatever, and it was like tournament style
Yeah.
boxing, and there was no training involved. These guys were just going out there, and
Coming
people
out
were
of the
going,
crowd saying, "Yeah,
Exactly, I got it.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Hold my beer."
Look, if you pay me enough money, I'll fight anyone in this room right now.
Yeah, he wants a motorcycle really bad. He just got his license, so he's like itching.
Fund my motorcycle. Let me fight you.
Exactly.
we got the UFC Apex Center next door. Let's go over there and see if there's
Exactly. No kidding. Wow. I saw an episode where you guys were like talking about fighting each other.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
On Action Junkies,
Yes.
we're placing bets that for the 24-hour podcast next year, me and Travis are going to fight.
Yeah.
Potentially all of us will fight George simultaneously.
Yeah.
And I think there might be a 5,000 to 10,000 prize. pool
Yeah,
for
I don't
that,
know. Whatever John was throwing out money.
Well,
I just know.
I'll take whatever I can get. And I'm not going down either. I'll have to be dead.
And it's a smoke show. So
Exactly what that is. That's exactly what that is.
That's it. It don't count. It's just for the money.
it made me think of Gladiator, the movie Gladiator,
Oh.
where he's fighting at the strip clubs, and they're putting on those fights, and he's fighting for $500,
And a
$1,000.
cheeseburger.
Exactly. And he's going home telling his wife, "Oh, I was working security. That's why I got punched." Well, that's crazy. So, for those of you listening out there, we've got Matt Phillips. He is the owner of Arena Wars. You can go to arenawars.live. That's the easiest way to find him. And we were talking about this is a big deal for you. You're a Marine. You do this on your own. You've started this, and it's how long have you had this company now?
So actually, the first fight I ever put on was in '98,
Oh, wow.
and so of course I was competing.
Okay.
And had been involved with fights and traveled around and seeing guys like Monty Cox and JT Reed Harris putting on fights, and I thought, man, this might be something fun to get into. And the first fight I did was a flop. right?
Really?
Because I did what everybody does that doesn't know any better, and just kind of sat back and thought, man, how hard could this be?
All right, people are just going to show.
Yeah, they're just going to show up. This is going to be great. And guess what? It's freaking hard.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard. So, I backed off of that. And
Did you win your fight on that fight?
Oh, I didn't even fight on the own
Oh.
card. Right, I just put it on.
Okay.
And so I've always kind of been a business guy at heart. I'm really driven for business, and it's not so much that I'm passionate about one thing over the other. I'm real passionate about business.
Oh, wow.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's it. So if somebody came up to me, or I came up with this idea that I thought had really good potential, I'll get passionate about that. It's not necessarily that, I'm passionate about being a construction guy, so that's why we're building houses.
Right.
Somebody
Right.
says, hey, I got this project. I think we could do something. I'm passionate about maybe making the project work and being challenged.
Right,
That's
of
kind of
course.
the thing that's interesting about business is you got to be on your A game, because it just won't happen. And
Right.
so long story longer, right? Fast forward probably up to about 2013. Of course, UFC was all over the place. The states were starting to sanction the fights, and it was really a recognized sport now, right? There's
Right.
gyms popping up everywhere, and there was some good things that came with all that stuff. Once the UFC kind of paved the way for the states accepting that this was going to be a sport,
Right.
it did a lot of great things. I mean, look at how big the industry is now. The bad things it did is it created a lot of guys who want to be fighters, right? They
Right.
got on social media and says, oh, I fight UFC or whatever. And you had a lot of coaches that knew just enough to coach the average guy walking in on the street, but weren't really good enough to go to like an Extreme Couture and even be on their amateur team,
Right.
right? And so there was kind of several years in there where you had, a lot of group of funky fighters, funky coaches, funky promoters popping up thinking, oh man, I'm going to make so much money off of this. And
Right.
so like 2012, 13, 14 in Northern California, Southern Oregon area, that we had several promoters there that were just wrecking every place they went. Every town you've named since we've been sitting here, Medford, Grants Pass,
Yeah.
Corvallis, Klamath
Salem,
Falls,
Portland.
Salem, Reading, right? They all had promoters that had went in there and had done such shitty shows that it just burnt the public out.
Wow.
And so I had been involved with different successful businesses up to that point. So I've had, a wholesale grocery place. I've had a convenience store. I've had payphone companies before the cell phones were cool.
Wow.
My biggest business I've ever had was a furniture business that I
Okay.
started from scratch.
Wow.
Literally started it with $1,500 and built it up into just a monster business.
Really?
And so I had
you bought like a nail and hair salon just recently.
Yeah, my gal and I got a hair and nail salon back when COVID hit and
Yeah.
all the shutdowns were happening. I had financially positioned ourselves pretty good, so we weren't taking as huge a hit as a lot of people that had overextended.
Yeah.
And of course, she's in the hair and nail business,
Oh, okay.
right? I'm not a hairdresser.
Okay.
You can see how.
So she's the brains and talent behind this.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And so we ended up picking up a hair and nail salon and have been working on developing that and
That's amazing.
getting it. So it's
Back to your thought. It just
what I
made me
mean.
think of it.
Well, yeah, and that just proves it. It's just more of a business thing. I'm not a hair and nail guy. I'm just a
Right.
business guy. But,
Exactly.
At any rate, so probably like 2015, people had approached me and said, "Hey, you've been around the fight business for a while," and I had trained up at Team Quest when Randy Couture had Team Quest up in Gresham with Matt
Wow.
Lindland.
Yeah.
And so I had been around a little bit and knew quite a few people and trained a lot. And so people are saying, "Hey, why don't you start putting on events?" And I didn't take it so lightly at that point, because I don't have a trust fund.
Yeah.
I don't have a big piggy bank sitting there. I don't have private money sitting there, right?
Right.
So every dollar for me counted. And so I sat there and I kind of formulated this game plan out of what it would take to start this business and make it relevant.
Okay.
Where we didn't get burnt out. It just didn't lose its fanfare after 3 or 4 fights.
Right.
And so I kind of laid this game plan out and then went and through the licensing process with the state. Once they gave me the approval,
Which costs money, I'm sure.
No, it costs thousands of dollars.
You're right.
I mean, it just wasn't a $35 license. And
No, I was going to
here you
say.
go. It was a background check, license, financial report, surety bond, interview, and the Oregon Athletic Commission, here's a side note, a lot of people don't realize, it's operated by the Oregon State Police.
Really?
Yeah, so it's not a group of guys that are sitting at a table that have formed an athletic commission that you're asking permission to. It's the state of Oregon and the Oregon State Police that's given you the same license that issues the casino licenses.
Okay.
Same group. They're gunned up cops. I mean, that's
Right.
what you're dealing with. So the threshold they have is high, which I always
Yeah.
appreciated.
Yeah.
At any rate, so we went through that process, and then once they got the approval, we started looking for a town to host us, which was difficult because every town I went to and every venue I went to had a story
Of being burnt out.
of being burnt,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so finally I got the city of Grants Pass to allow me to do it, which took several meetings with the sheriff, city police, city attorney. I mean, it was really a big deal out there, and we put one on in 2016, had probably 3,000 people that showed up
Whoa.
to this facility. It was wall to wall people. I think we had 16 fights that night.
Wow.
And absolutely no incidents. It was absolutely couldn't have got any more perfect right out of the chute. And so then we just kind of went from that city to the next city to the next one. And of course, 2016 was a pretty good year. 2017, was kind of a little bit of a roller coaster because we were polishing black eyes out that were left from previous people,
Mhm.
and just kind of getting into the swing of things. And then from about the tail end of 17 all the way up to now, minus the closures in 2020, which
Mhm.
we couldn't
Yeah.
deal
Can't
with.
control.
Yeah, we didn't control
Right.
that. We just been on a tear.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
And I've laid it out. We've had some. It's not easy. A lot of people always approach me, even the guys that work with me sometimes. They're like, "Oh, hey, we're going back to Springfield. That event's always good. This will be a piece of cake." And I always tell them, forget that kind of thought.
Yeah. It's
What we did yesterday
doesn't matter.
is what we did yesterday.
Yeah.
This is a new one. There's so many different spokes on this wheel that every day is like our last try
Right,
to get it right.
exactly.
That's how we do it. This is our first attempt to get it right. Not, we've done this 17 times, we're going to take it for granted. We don't do that. So
That's a great approach. It's a great approach to everything. This podcast being a hero's journey podcast is, you stepped into this unknown area. It doesn't sound like you had somebody who was mentoring you through the process. You were just kind of paying attention to the mistakes that others had made, hearing the stories of people messing up and what they did wrong. So that way you didn't make those same mistakes because you didn't have the money to make a mistake.
No, it's not like we're sitting there and I got a guy backing me up or
That's what I
mommy and
mean.
daddy or big piggy bank where it's like, hey, let's try this.
You're right.
And outside of business, I've always lived my life by a simple rule. Mistakes happen,
Right.
right? Nobody's perfect. Anybody that says they never made a mistake or never had anything bad's full of it.
Right.
So it's making a mistake is not bad. It's the recovery that's the most important.
Right.
And not making the same mistakes twice.
Right. Wow.
You'll
Good for you.
You'd be pretty foolish to make the same mistakes twice because you didn't learn the lesson. And unfortunately, a lot of times life will teach you the lesson first before you even get to take the test.
Right.
Right. So it's not like you get the precursor to everything. And so you got to learn as much as you can, as fast as you can. And for me personally, on life and business, I'm an information guy. So even if I don't know anything, I always, people say, "Oh man, you're, smart." Well, I'm smart, but I'm not the smartest. I always tell everybody, I'm not the smartest guy in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know what makes me the smartest guy in the room a lot of times though, is the fact that I'll walk in and I know a lot of stuff. I've studied, I've done my homework, and my ego is low enough that if there's something that I don't know, when I walk into a room, I'll figure out which guy knows it better than I do. And then I'll ask him, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Educate me so that way when they give me all their information, they've taught me something. Then when I make my decision, I'm the smartest guy in the room.
There you go.
Right.
And then it's time to get out and go find another room that you're not the smartest guy. And so that way you can learn again.
Yeah.
That's well done, man.
Yeah. That's
Well done.
that's the way you got to do it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
and you got to be humble about it too.
Yeah, you do.
And when I make mistakes, I'll own it. And even when they're not actually my fault, everybody says, "Oh, crap rolls downhill." I always say, well, when you're sitting at the top, it does roll downhill, but when mistakes happen, it's got to come back up to the top because you're the one overseeing everything.
Right.
So if you don't want to take responsibility for it, that's half the battle of not learning and getting stuff taken care of the right way.
Right. Right. Well, congratulations, man. And that's great advice. Congratulations on getting the Nevada state license here. I know that that's a lot. Congrats on the success that you've had so far, and hopefully I can help out in some way. And, and thank you for being a part of this show and sharing your story. If you can believe it, we've been on for, 50 minutes almost?
Just
or
about.
45, 50 minutes. So, see, that was easy, huh?
Yeah, piece of cake.
Sitting down. This is your first podcast, sitting down. Matt, we got Matt Phillips from arenawars.live, guys. He's been our guest today on a Hero's Journey podcast. Chase, is there anything you want to ask him before we go?
I'm just stoked to hopefully see one of these fights someday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be really cool. It's cool to me that it's entertainment, that you're on the entertainment side of things. It's on a pro level. The toughest thing for a lot of people coming up, like being an artist, being in a band, is finding a place to play, finding a place to do what you love to do, kind of thing. And you're not Bruno Mars, you're not, Keith Urban, you're not getting, this stuff that they've earned, they've paid their dues, but you're giving these fighters and who are in the entertainment business as well.
Yeah, they're
an
entertainers.
Opportunity. Exactly. They're entertainers.
They're fighters, but they're entertaining people.
Exactly. And you're giving them a place to do it. And it's not PFL, it's not UFC, it's not, Bellator or whatever. You are giving them, and it's on a pro level, so they can make money, they can continue to do this as long as they're winning, and loving what they do, and staying healthy, being able to do it.
Yeah, and we try to mentor them along the way. I
That's
try
awesome.
to import a lot of education that I've learned over the years that wasn't taught to me, to kind of give them a little bit of perspective. And each of those guys have a little bit different idea maybe of where they want to go, but some of them are real successful. I mean, we've probably had 20 people that have competed in our shows in the last couple years that are in the UFC.
That's awesome.
PFL, Bellator right now.
Right. Awesome. That's awesome.
So
congrats.
Some of those guys really get it. Other ones are real happy being on the regional stage, and
Right.
some guys just like to have the bucket list.
Yeah.
So it's a good platform for everybody.
That's incredible. That's really cool that you have a space for that, and that you work so hard. Like I said, your story is inspiring. What you did, how you go after it. I'm sitting here listening to you talk, and you're like, started a furniture business with $1,500. The things that you put the work in, learning these. That's from A to Z. The businesses that you've owned and the things that you do, even just your fight stuff is kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, MMA, boxing. It's across the board. You're doing all this stuff. Music, it's entertaining. You and I are talking about doing a show in like April, May kind of thing, helping put together something for Klamath Falls so you can put on a big show for the city.
Yeah.
So, and it's like you said, that's not your forte, but you have a connection with the city. You want to do something good for the city, put on a big concert, a day festival, bring in some acts and do that. And I can help you do that. We can make that stuff happen. Again, Matt Phillips, everybody, arenawars.live. Go check him out. My name is Brian Hopkins. And dude, did you have fun today?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Being down here. It was awesome.
Awesome. I had a good time with you as well. Chase, producer Chase, thank you so much. We're losing producer Chase.
Only for a couple weeks.
It's only a couple weeks this time?
Well, I mean, it's 6 weeks.
Oh, see? Yeah, a couple and 6 are totally different. Last year, we started this. It was like my first days starting the podcast, and he's like, I'm your producer. I want to work on your show. And then he left for Austria because he's an opera singer, and he went over and he did that for 7 weeks. And they asked him back. So he gets to do it again this summer. So I'm losing him.
That's
and
cool.
We're going to sit down and we're going to have an episode with just you and I. We're going to sit down and talk about what you did last time and what we can expect this coming time.
Sounds good.
And how just knowing me has changed your life. We'll get into that. It's so true, though. My name is Brian Hopkins. Thank you to our guest, Matt Phillips. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you again for your service, brother.
This was great. I appreciate you having me down.
Yeah, and congratulations on everything. Thank you to JP and Nick Martin, Dadcast, for sending me Matt. And again, as you heard today, he may have just like touched on, he's a businessman, and he found a way to go after, be challenged, and go after the things that he wants to do. And you can't do that unless you put in the work. And we said it off the air. You know, I put it down on paper, and from paper, I give it energy, and then it turns into, okay, what do I got to do next? Go do that. I hope this inspired you. You inspired me, Matt. My name is Brian Hopkins. Thank you to JPS Computers, S&P Inc. Thank you guys so much. And all the Rock Rage Radio listeners out there, thank you for tuning in. As they say, we are everywhere. My name is Brian Hopkins. This is the Hero's Journey Podcast.
Dream, and I believe it's coming around to me.